What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first ever episode of the Sinterview, and I guess I'll just go over what this podcast is. It's pretty much about. So essentially, once a month, I'm going to be trying to bring someone on for a little interview. Most likely going to be like a Twitch streamer or a YouTube content creator or something along those lines, and then I'll throw some questions at them, pick their brain, shoot the shit. All that fun stuff. So there isn't really much else to say about the podcast itself. We'll just let it speak for itself for the most part. But of course, we have our first guest for our pilot episode here is someone that I've known for a relatively long time. I'd say like 5 years, something like that, somewhere along
Probably
there.
Close. Yeah, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, something like that. He has 4.6 followers. 4.6k followers on Twitch. Oh my god,
4.6 followers.
Yeah, I had to double check before. I wanted to make sure I had the right stats. And he is also the co-founder of Epilogue Gaming. I'd like to introduce you guys to Mr. Bengerman10.
That's me. Hi everybody. It's good to be on, Sin.
Glad to have you. So how was your day?
My day was good.
We'll start with something easy.
I always like to ask on my streams how's my day on a scale of 1 to 10, or how are other people's days on a scale of 1 to 10. I'd say like a 7. It's like a solid 7.
A nice little 7.
Nice little 7. Swimming in 7s.
Yeah, swimming in 7s, baby. Lucky numbers.
Yeah.
So one thing that I want to learn about you is just your backstory. Just like how like Bengerman10 became a thing.
Yeah. So it's funny because I have to start like way long ago, where my brother and I used to watch each other play video games, and my brother would watch me play more frequently than I'd watch him play. But it was just something that I like really missed as soon as I left home for college. And that was around the time when like Xbox Live was becoming a thing. And like, well, I guess that was, before then, but it was really like nobody ever like played games in person anymore. It was just you're playing online. And one of the things that I really missed was being able to like watch my friends play the game that they were playing. So we'd play online, but like there was no way to watch each other play, at least until like Twitch came around and some of the other live streaming services started up. And eventually I just started streaming games on my Xbox so that my friends could watch. And I don't know at what point I decided like, hey, this would be a fun idea for me to just like, I just started playing games and like putting it on in the background. And then I found some other streams. I was at that point, I was watching the Twitch Plays Pokemon channel. I was watching SVG, who you and I know. He was doing a Mario Kart marathon. I was watching some people do Dark Souls stuff. And I would just like watch while I played. And I was, I just realized that's such a fun way to like play games, is to like play about them, talk about them at the same time. And so that's kind of why I decided to start. My first ever game was Wolfenstein. I believe it was the New Order. And I streamed that whole game. Had about like 1 or 2 viewers the whole time, and the rest has been history.
I actually had no idea that Xbox Live had like their own like sort of like streaming thing or something that you were talking about. I had no idea that was even a thing, but I definitely remember the Xbox 360 party days, just like gaming with the friends with your little like headset or whatnot, playing like Call of Duty or Halo or something like along those lines.
Yeah, that's really like how it all kind of started. Was like I'd be wanting to like take a break from Call of Duty or something, and I'd stay in an Xbox Live party chat with my friends, and I was like, I wish I could like watch you play. And then that idea started cropping up around the next gen, like Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One had a built-in service that they still do, and so does PlayStation, where you can just stream from your console. And I forget what the live services were, but there was a couple of different ones you could choose from, and I messed around with both. Eventually it became clear that Twitch was gonna make it out of that market alive, so I stuck with Twitch.
I still remember when I think Twitch was like originally like Justin TV as well. I wasn't really around for like those days, but like I heard of it like I started hearing of it like around that time, but like I never really dabbled into it until like after it was like Twitch TV and whatnot.
Yeah, it was Twitch by the time I had started too, I think.
Yeah. When did you start streaming again?
It sort of depends on, so like I was doing that sort of thing. I probably created my account about 6 years ago. And at that point I was just like, I put something on. I wasn't like streaming. I was just doing it so my friends could watch. Usually I wasn't saying anything.
Yeah.
I'd say when I like actually started to cast as like a form of entertainment, it was a little over 5 years ago. I say May is my like my anniversary. So probably closing in on 6 years ago.
God, it definitely doesn't, like I've known you for like the 5 years of that, which is even crazier to think about, that I came by like about a full year afterwards. I still remember like the first game that you were playing when I showed up, because it was from a Thundershot raid, which at the time I think he was like Thundershot 75.
69. No, yeah, you're right. He changed from 75.
Yeah, I think it was 75 on Twitch, 69 on YouTube. Really weird. But I think you were playing like, I know that you were playing a Mario game. Might have been Sunshine. It was either Sunshine or Galaxy, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I still remember it was like a puzzle thing, but like you were in like a ball or something like that, and you had to like go through like a maze type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's Sunshine. It's one of the ones that it's like the more difficult stars to get in the game. Yeah,
I definitely remember that. How'd you end up coming up with the name Bengerman10? I know that like your name's like Ben, but
yeah, my name is Ben. I honestly have no idea. I think I was doing something that like my friends would know it was me, but nobody else would. And this was actually an email that I had set up that was originally supposed to be temporary. And I thought my family was German until my sister took an ancestry test a couple of years ago, and it turns out we're like more French than anything else. So it was supposed to be a dumb pun, and now I've just kind of kept it because that's how people know me. A lot of people pronounce it like Bengerman or like Bengerman. So it has lost all meaning. A lot of people just say Ben 10 because they think of the show, which the number 10 has nothing to do with Ben 10, even though I've seen Ben 10 now. It's just a random coincidence. So
all right, so what you're saying is you should change your name to Ben French 10.
Probably Ben Frenchman 10. Yeah.
Croissant. so I know also that you've been like doing like school and all that for like pretty much
forever.
Like, yeah, forever. It feels like you're never done school. So I think we've talked about it like a little bit before. But like you were taking like journalism or something like that, or
I was a journalism student for my undergrad. So let's see, from I don't know until about I graduated with my bachelor's degree in 2015, and I during that time I was actually my first ever job was writing about video games. So I was looking at I didn't play a whole lot of video games before. Like I'd play Call of Duty, I'd play Halo. That was pretty much it. That was my extent of knowledge. And when I was looking up jobs, I was really interested in reviewing film. So I typed that into whatever search engine I was using at the time, and couldn't find anything that worked for film, but I did find some stuff about games, and I was like, this is interesting. Like I don't really play video games a whole lot, but let me check in on what kind of gig this is. And it was a job writing about sports video games, so I applied to it and I started freelancing for them. At that point I basically told myself like, okay, if I'm going to be writing about games, I want to know all about games. So I started playing other stuff. I played Dark Souls, I played BioShock, I played Borderlands, and I just really found a love for games. And then I worked for a couple of years, and I'm just finishing my master's now, and I got accepted into a PhD program. But my degrees now are in communication and communication law. And so it's pretty separate from journalism. I actually just quit my last freelance job ever. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed. And I had been writing for places like IGN. I had edited for PC Gamer. I had done a lot of work in games journalism, and I loved it a lot. I have found that I really care about games and writing about them. But at this point, I'm actually researching more about games. So doing research on like game violence, game communities like Discord, like Epilogue Gaming, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
those kinds of places. So yeah, I'm still in school. I've got like another 5 years ahead of me. So wish me best of luck.
Yeah, you're an absolute goddamn crackhead for going for school that much. I did like I had like my 4 years of college under my belt, and I'm ready to tap out. I am done with that.
Yeah, but I don't blame you.
Yeah, but speaking on Epilogue Gaming, what made you decide to start doing Epilogue Gaming and creating that site and whatnot?
Yeah, at this point, I don't even really know the answer to that question. It got to the point where I realized that one of my favorite things about like streaming was just talking about games. And I felt like, I had obviously been in games journalism for a long time. And my thought process was that nobody was talking about games in the same way that I kind of wanted them to. A lot of it was news based, which you still see all the time. So like, X game is scheduled to release in April of 2022, or like reactions. So like something gets a trailer and then somebody writes about like what they think about the trailer, or reviews and like critical reviews. And I've been in academia for a long time now. And I noticed alongside Blake, who I started EG with her around like 2015, and it had already been kind of an idea that was mulling, and like we had already created the site, but we really just felt like people didn't talk about games in a more like literature based fashion, and that the way that people reviewed them was as if there wasn't like stories involved in these games, and there wasn't narrative mechanics that were being used expertly alongside gameplay mechanics. And so we wanted to talk about like just storytelling in video games. And that was something that we started writing about. And eventually I think that has, you've known this as a YouTuber, Sin, but like it has become super popular to talk about games that way.
Oh my God.
That was in 2015, and surely there were people doing it, but we just felt like there was enough room for us to kind of carve out a little niche for ourselves. And ever since, it's been, we've taken our fair share. We've kind of taken a step back from that, and I think we just generally take it less seriously. But that was why EG started, I think, was we really wanted a place that people could go after they had played the game, so they could get a chance to think about it some more, and really process the emotions that they had playing it. So really glad we did that, but we are certainly different than we were in 2016 or 2017, whenever that was.
Yeah, like the fact that they said that it like that you and Blake were talking about it since 2015. A lot of us had no idea you guys were even sitting on that at all until like you said, like 2017ish or something like that.
Yeah, it's the whole timeline is fuzzy to me. You'd probably have to ask Blake, but we started working together at a university, and one of the staff members, who was our boss at the time, said that we should start talking about it in an academic setting, because not a lot of people were talking about games. A lot of people talk about games in terms of violence, like do games cause violence and things like that. That's very popular among academics, but they don't talk about games as like stories. So we actually did go present at a couple conferences, and we didn't have a whole lot of people who were interested in it. And that sort of upset us at the time. It was like people weren't really taking games as seriously as we wanted them to. And so we started just writing about them, and people found us that way. And of course, now we have tens of thousands of readers every month, and we have 500 people on our Discord who love talking about games. I get to talk with other content creators about it, so we've definitely found our spot in all of this. But yeah, I don't know when the exact time. Whenever we started working together, we started talking about it almost immediately. So If I graduated in 2015, it was probably 2016, 2017 at the latest. So, yeah, all that was going on.
Yeah, you, you guys definitely ended up building yourselves up through like that whole like narration storytelling type of thing, because even whenever I'm in your stream, I notice that like people are always talking about like the narration of a story, all like the different types of like interesting mechanics to like different games and all that sort of stuff as well. Like everyone, that like so many people in your community are just like super all about that as well, which is also really good, like having all the same like type of thinking and stuff when it comes to like games, as well as having all your different like perspectives on like why X person thinks one game's good and another person thinks that it's not. But like, but like all you guys have like those really good like critical discussions amongst each other. I see it like all the time in the Discord, and I'm like, I can't wrap my head around any of this.
Yeah, I think we always knew that there were people who really cared about that sort of thing. And you know, we're lucky that I think at that point I had already built up kind of a Twitch audience. So you know, I've never been a huge streamer, but I've been big enough where if I'm playing a game, it's, you know, I'm close to the top of the page. People can find my channel, and then they find EG, or they find us through our website. You know, for a while we were recording podcasts and people were listening to those. So like we've always had different ways for people to like sort of find us, and once they do, they usually stay around, because I think that is honestly the case, that it's hard to find places in the game space that really love games in not just one game. Like I know, you know, that's the case for a lot of communities, like the Pokemon community, Call of Duty community. Yeah. It's like that's very popular, like finding communities that exist based around like one thing. But, you know, we've been really lucky in that a lot of people here really love talking about all sorts of things, and all sorts of different game types. So I think that has really been sort of our catch-all at this point. That's kind of what we're most known for, is that you come into our group and our community, and if you like games, you're going to get along with people. It doesn't matter what kind of games. You're going to find something or somebody else who appreciates similar things to you. So
yeah, like as long as I've known you, of course you've had like your stints of playing like certain games for like a really long time. Like an example is like Mario Maker 2 when that came out.
Right.
And right now for you it's like Mario Kart, Smash. But like even over the years of the amount of different games that you've played on your stream, you've still been able to keep that like consistent viewership with it as well, which is even more amazing for me, because I know a lot of people will like change games to like something that's maybe not as well known, and their viewership will like drastically drop or something like that. But for you, I've noticed that like it always stays between like the 20 to 40 range like at all times, and it just blows my mind all the time, honestly.
Well, thanks. I'll take that as a compliment. Yeah, I think that there was at some point, and I know you've been following my stream for long enough, where I think I was playing one game. This happened a couple of times. I think it happened with Mario Maker 2. It's happened with Minecraft, where I start to lose this potency in the sort of conversations I'm having. And Twitch for me has never been like a career. I make money off of it, so I guess on some level it is a career, but it's something that I like doing as more of like it's been a side project. I do it for 15 hours a week and that's it. And I think what kind of happened is that people recognized that if you're coming to my channel, you're not really coming for the game necessarily. You're coming for like a conversation that I want to have with you, and you're going to have with other people. Half the time people are talking about things in my chat that have nothing to do with me or my stream. And so that's part of the research I'm actually working on right now. Is my thesis project is that people want to have places they can go to talk about real things, things that matter to them, more importantly. And, you know, if you can set up a place to do that, whether it's a stream, whether it's a Discord, whether it's a YouTube channel, the comment section, a Facebook group, whatever, people want to have conversations with each other. They want to talk. And I think it's just, it's been about, you know, keeping that conversation stimulated and recognizing that people will come back for each other and not just me. They'll come back to my channel because they can talk to their friends, they can talk to people that they have really detailed conversations with. And yeah, I think that's probably been why I've been able to keep the viewership, because I think at the end of the day, like, game choice is important when you're like trying to grow and stuff like that. But I think in terms of stability, if you're really looking for stability, like it's all about making it a place that people want to come back to, no matter what is on your screen. So
yeah. One thing I actually wanted to ask about, since we were talking about like Epilogue Gaming a little bit earlier, is I remember that you were doing like the Epilogue Gaming podcast sort of stuff. I know some people have like mentioned it a little bit in like the Discord and whatnot, but is there any sort of plans to even bring that back, or is just the podcast thing with Epilogue Gaming just shot?
Yeah, we had like quite a following by the end of our run. Amelia and Marcos and I would get together every Friday and do the podcast, and I think really enjoyed talking to each other. The thing with EG is that we don't monetize anything that we do. We don't have advertisements. We don't. We have a Patreon that literally is developed to keep us afloat, and so like that has been, and I'm thankful for all of our patrons if one of them happens to be listening. But really what we do is we keep that money set aside so that we can continue to do work that we like to do. And that's pretty much the extent of it. And so, I think all three of us just found that we were short on time. But as of recently, me, Marcos, and Amelia have had some streams and stuff where we've interacted. And I think we always just come back to that concept of how much we like talking to each other about games, and how much we'd love to eventually do that sort of thing again. It's just, again, I certainly don't think it's ever like shot in dead. It's it's a matter of like scheduling and feeling as if that's something we are passionate about, because usually I know for the three of us, we don't like to jump into something unless we are really excited about it and we know we can continue it into the foreseeable future. So hope come back, because I really like talking to them, and I know people were really excited about that podcast. So
yeah, I still remember like the days when like even EG After Dark, which I was part of, for anyone who didn't know, with Drath and Marcos as well. I remember like watching like your guys, or listening, sorry, there wasn't a video thing for it, listening to like your guys' podcast. Yeah. I would listen to like bits and pieces, and like the conversations just always flowed like really well with you guys as well. So that's definitely something that a lot of people enjoyed. It's because like Marcos, we all know how Marcos is. He's just wildfire. When something happens, he just goes, and then Amelia, and then
yeah, I mean, I think the easiest thing is that we've just all been friends for so long at this point. And I think that really has like become more concrete over the course of COVID, where I've realized I know a lot of people in my like social circle that have felt like socially isolated. And I realized one of the nice things about, meeting people through like the internet at the time when EG was all starting, was that during COVID, like I've recognized that a lot of these people are like my real close friends. And that the way we've been able to interact is, we can do it, and we've been able to do it safely, obviously, because a large part of our relationship has been established on the internet. So that has been really like easy thing to reflect back on, is just like we like each other, so it was easy to do. Just like it's easy to talk to you. It's like I'm relaxed around them, and that's a good sort of atmosphere, I think, for a podcast. So
yeah, exactly. As long as you know like the person and are like comfortable, because I'm pretty sure Marcos and I came around at like around like the same time, and Amelia was like a longer viewer than any of us were.
Yeah, but I think my first ever Twitch viewer. So
Yeah. But also speaking of the pandemic, how have you yourself been dealing with it over like the past, like, it's been like a year now, hasn't it?
Yeah, almost exactly a year for me since it like started to affect things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that one of the things that I've obviously it has negatively affected me in countless ways. When I was applying to PhD programs, which is the biggest current like career move in my life, as much as I love everything that I do with EG, that was the biggest thing, and there was an awful lot of blockades put up because people don't have as much money as they did a year ago, and there's more people trying to apply for these things because everybody's looking for work, everybody's looking for something that they can do, and so that that initial thing, and obviously like I don't think anybody at this point doesn't know at least somebody who's been like heavily affected or has died from COVID. And I've had friends and family members who have been affected by it. So it is, I think, just like everybody else, it has been just this like totally harrowing experience. And I want to say like I'm very privileged in how little it actually has affected me outside of those things. But I think more positively, I'm reflecting on it and I'm realizing that there's so many things that I've been forced into, so many different like behavior changes that I've been forced to over the last the course of the last year or so, that I'd really like to keep moving forward after it's over, and hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel at this point. So just things like I don't miss having to wake up for a 9 o'clock meeting and getting on a bus and taking an hour to get there and then like having to do all of that again to get back. I like being able to roll out of bed with some coffee and like popping open my laptop, and that's it. That's all I have to do, and I'm there. I'm certainly empathetic to the positions and the jobs where people don't have that option. God bless the the healthcare workers and the everybody working at grocery stores or any sort of labor position that you have to still go in. But for me personally, I've been dealing with it by trying to think about things that I want to improve in my life moving forward once this is all done. And there have been several things I think I've been forced into changes, and I'm like, oh, that actually worked out. That was good for my mental health. That was good for my physical health. So trying to keep those things forward, and I'm trying to view it as positively as I can. We'll see when all of this is over if some of those options are available to me. But I really don't know about you, Sin, but I have spent more time indoors, and I've actually been pretty okay with that. Now, granted, I do live in Florida, so I think most of us here would prefer to spend more time indoors than outdoors. But it's been, that part of it has been okay. Like having to stay inside and focusing a little bit more on myself. Like those have been positive changes for me. So I'm hoping to continue that moving forward.
Yeah, I know like recently on like Twitter and all that, a lot of the people who at the beginning were like, oh, it's fine. I like to stay inside anyways. I like to sit at my computer, this, that, and the other thing. They're all starting to hit that point where it's like, I just want to get outside. Yeah. I need to get out of here. But they pretty much can't because of all the restrictions and all that other stuff. Yeah, there is absolutely a desire for me, having been unable to travel for a whole year has sucked. Unable to see certain friends for a year has sucked. I miss going to bars. Like I miss just going on, like having a drink. Like that sucks. I love going to sporting events. I can't do that. I used to go to the movie theaters twice a week, and I can't do that anymore. Yeah. All of that I miss a lot, and I am anxious for at least some of those things to return. I don't know how much things like movie theaters will be back in full swing, at least for a while. So I do miss all of those things. It's been about trying to figure out how can I be a happy person with all of these restraints on me, and I think I figured out some good ways to do that. So I know certainly miss going outside though. Yeah. I know that like in the States, like of course, like COVID's a lot heavier there than it is where I am, because luckily enough where I live, because I'm on like the super far east coast of Canada, where we're in our own separate time zone.
Right.
Which is,
you have your own time zone.
Yeah, it's terrifying to even think about, because everyone questions me about it. That's why I always work in EST whenever I'm talking to anyone. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do it at like this time at EST. And I know out here, like, we don't really have really many cases, luckily enough.
Right.
And our movie theaters are like open, but they just have like their limited capacity sort of thing, just like just like most places. Like if I want to, I could go see that new Godzilla movie in theaters. Which I think my girlfriend and I are actually planning on doing.
I'm very jealous of that. Very jealous.
Yeah, we ended up talking about it before, and we're planning on doing that, but of course depending on how the pandemic goes by the time it's out, which isn't out at like the end of the month.
Yeah, I think it's the 31st or something.
Yeah,
March 31st.
Yeah, I was like, if all else fails, I'll just get like a free trial of like Hulu or something, because it's apparently going to be on there like same day or something like that, as far as I know.
I think it's HBO. It might be different in Canada. It's
I
probably different in Canada.
It starts with an H. That's all I know. And I know that like in like calls and like some of the chats that I've had, and like other people have had with you, you've been taking care of a stray cat. I need to hear about this.
Yeah. So I actually don't even really know. Well, okay. So the first thing that happened is there's a stray cat near where I live that would go up and it would eat food that was placed out in front of a door. And I noticed that the person who was feeding the cat was moving. And if you're a big fan of cats, then you may already know this, but I did not know that, like, there's a whole thing about you shouldn't really feed cats when they're outside, because then they become dependent on it. They stop learning how to hunt and things like that. And so I was like, well, what should I do? Because now this cat is without its food resource that it's been relying on for as long as I had seen, at least. And basically the idea was that I should start feeding the cat. I looked up, what people thought was best for it. That I should start feeding the cat and eventually like wean it off as much as I could. And I am just a sucker for this cat, because I've now been doing this for like a year and a half, and it's been mostly over the course of the pandemic. But I have stretched it out to once every 2 days. I give it like a pretty substantial little dinner, but I saw this cat and I was like, it felt really unfair to me that the people were just like, who had been feeding it all this time were just leaving. And, this food that it had become reliant on, it could no longer count on. So I started feeding it. The first thing I did was try and feed it a scrambled egg, because I read that cats could eat an egg. It did not want the egg. So then I eventually went to the store. I started buying cat food. And Sin, I actually have a really great story for you.
I love this.
I'm in Florida, which there's all sorts of like crazy animals and stuff. But the other day I was going to feed my cat, and I couldn't find her, but she's usually up against this like vast little forest of trees. She's usually hiding somewhere in there. And so like I pop open the can of the food, and sometimes she'll like run out after that. And I hear some like footsteps. So I'm not looking, but I see like a pair of eyes out of the corner of my own. And I'm like, I'm using my kitty voice. I'm like, oh, there you are. Like, it's so good to see you. Here's your food. And then I look over, and it's a possum. And it's not just any possum. It's a 3-legged possum. And it's like limping its way over to the food. And I'm like, well, I guess I should just leave this here. So I left the food. I went and I found my cat on the other side of the apartment complex. But this poor possum with 3 legs. And it's right next to an alligator farm. So I don't know if it like had its leg bitten off by an alligator. But I mean, seriously, what a trooper of a possum. Like, how do you lose a leg? And like, you just keep the possum just kept going. So
literally walking it off.
walking it off. So yeah, that was fun. But yeah, very big fan of this cat. I've thought about trying to bring her in. She's adorable. She seems hypoallergenic. She was obviously like part of a home before, but I've seen her do some crazy shit. Like she'll just like run up a tree, or like I've seen her like swat a beetle out of there and just like chomp on it. Like she is an outdoor cat at this point. But and
God, I hope so.
I love her. But yeah, she's I think her home is the outdoors in the Florida swamp. So just gonna keep feeding her as long as I can, and as soon as I can't, you know, I'll or if I don't eventually wean her off by that point of her food, then I'll find somebody who can continue doing it. So
yeah. So so one thing I have set up for every guest that I'll have on the show here is is a segment called One Has to Go. I'll take three things that you like, and one has to go. Of course, it'll be tailored to whoever's on. Okay. So for you, we're gonna take one has to go, but it's a game franchise.
Okay, let's do it.
So your options are Dark Souls, Mario Kart, or BioShock.
I feel like I've lived without BioShock for so long at this point. So is this eliminating all future possibilities of a BioShock? Yes. Like, can I at least replay the old ones, or can I not replay the old ones?
Can't replay the old ones. Oh, there won't be any new ones.
Okay, so it's just a dead franchise.
Yeah, completely gone.
Okay, so I'm ruling out Dark Souls. There's just nothing quite like the Souls franchise, and it's my favorite. Like Dark Souls is my favorite game of all time. I still love Dark Souls 2. I love 3. I don't think there will ever be a Dark Souls 4, but I don't care. I'm not letting go of that one. I think similarly, yeah, go ahead.
You ended up speed running one of the Dark Souls, didn't you? Wasn't it like the second one, or was it the first one?
So I actually know how to speed run really all 3, but the only one I've competitively done speed runs of was Dark Souls 1, and I got my time down to 1 hour and 5 minutes.
Okay, gotcha.
And I was doing a no glitch run, and that was about as like the way that I did it. It didn't rely on RNG, so I could have cut it off. About the world record at the time was like, I think like 10 to 15 minutes quicker. Okay. I figured unless I learned some of the strategies that just made the game less fun for me, I just wasn't ever going to be close to that. So I left it at that. But I can still run it, easily in under 2 hours whenever I feel like. So that one's going to stick. BioShock is very important to me. As I mentioned earlier, it was like one of the first games that I was just like, holy shit, that story was just like through the roof.
Yeah.
And I love the atmosphere. I love the art design. But I do, I've now gone without it for, God, when did Infinite come out? Like 2012 or something? Maybe, no, it couldn't have been. It was at the end of the 360 franchise. So like 2012, 2013, maybe even 2014. And I've gone without it for so long that I feel like I could probably be fine just without BioShock. I still replay the original like once every couple of years, but Mario Kart, I mean, I know people love to hate on Mario Kart, but I can pick Mario Kart up and play it whenever I feel like, and it's a great game to play with friends. I wouldn't give that one up either. So I'll keep Dark Souls and Mario Kart.
All right, so you're shooting BioShock.
I'm shooting BioShock. Yeah,
hate to see it.
I hate to see it too.
I still remember like trying like Dark Souls and me getting so mad. I play Mario Kart, I get mad. I feel like the only one I wouldn't get mad at is maybe BioShock.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe you're just a mad person, Sid.
Who knows now? I think COVID's bringing anger out of me.
That's acceptable.
Yeah, I think that'll probably be about it for the Sinterview today. Of course, thank you, Ben, for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, let the people know where they can find you.
Sure. I'm Bengerman10 on Twitch. That's the primary way you can find me. I have my work published on EpilogueGaming.com pretty much exclusively now. I just finished up my last remaining part-time job writing for a different website. So You can find some of my old work on IGN and various other places online. I also am on Benjamin Plays on Twitter. And let's see, do I use anything else? Probably not. Most everything you can find through the epiloguegaming.com website if you want to check it out. So go visit there, or find me on Twitch at Bengerman10 and tell me you found me through this interview.
Yeah. So thank you everyone so much for watching. I do plan on uploading this to YouTube, so of course if you guys enjoyed it, hit the like button, new to the channel, subscribe to it as well. And let me know in the comment section or on Twitter or something at SynXRealize where you who you want to see next on the show. But that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next podcast. Bye.
Bye everybody.